Choose or Die stars Iola Evans as a young coder named Kayla. After firing up a lost 80s survival horror game, she unleashes a hidden curse that tears reality apart, forcing her to make terrifying decisions and face deadly consequences. This is directed by Toby Meekins and it hit Netflix earlier in April. It's a film that looks to act as something of a tribute to 80s horror, though with the flair of modern horror and slasher films like Saw or Final Destination. The score contains a retro 80s vibe to it, we'll get several sequences that take on the look of an 80s video game, and we even get a supporting role from Freddy Krueger himself, Robert Englund, as the voice of this cursed video game. The way the film plays out, Kayla finds this game, and each level she has to play corresponds to something going on in real life, with her being in control of this instrument of torture against someone she's personally interacting with, much to her horror. Now, it's actually an interesting enough concept, especially as I'm always down for gimmicky, sometimes mindless slashers. Like, Saw is a guilty pleasure franchise for me just for its sheer creativity, despite several of the films having notable problems. However, despite an intriguing setup, the execution here was incredibly sloppy. The main thing for me was that it couldn't seem to pick a lane in terms of its tone. For the most part, it takes itself way too seriously, which doesn't do it too many favors, as no one ever comes off as compelling. While this does contain a supporting cast full of usually reliable actors, like Asa Butterfield as Kayla's friend, as well as Eddie Marsan as someone else who's played this cursed video game, it felt like no one had any chemistry with each other whatsoever. Like, at no point could I buy Evans and Butterfield as being such good friends, despite the fact that they're the two main characters driving most of the film. The dialogue felt incredibly clunky, and the delivery at times felt a bit wooden. And rarely was there ever a moment that required them to do much emotionally beyond screaming incoherently, which led to another problem, along with the harsh sound mixing, as both of those gave this film a feeling of being mostly very loud and in your face whenever there was a moment that was meant to be intense, which instead comes off as obnoxious and taxing. But going back to the emotional level of this film, despite the wailing and yelling we see characters do throughout this, the film actually felt emotionally hollow. The way the structure of the game works is that it'll play out one level per day and will follow the characters in their downtime between each levels, and at no point does the film even look to explore the emotional trauma they might be experiencing after going through one of the levels. There's a lot of fright in the moment, but they move on so quickly without a second thought afterwards. So because they don't seem to care, we don't care either as a result. And speaking of the levels, going back to the film's tonal issues, when we see them play out, the video game aesthetic accompanying these moments felt so goofy and ridiculous, especially when playing against characters' overly serious hysteria. When you have this almost lighthearted video game music playing against characters' serious facial expressions, while also cutting back and forth between these retro cartoonish visuals, it seriously undercuts any tension you're meant to feel, and it instead feels laughable. If the film wanted to go for a campy tone, then it needed to commit to it, and if it wanted to be an emotionally serious film, then it needed to rework some of the video game sequences. But because it couldn't commit to one tone or the other, it just couldn't achieve the effect it was looking to have. And as a result, Choose or Die is a disjointed mess that really doesn't work as a frightening or even campy horror film. While it has a cool concept, it's seriously undercut by the wooden acting, harsh sound mixing, severe tonal issues, and lack of any sort of emotional core. What could have been one of the year's cult classics instead winds up being one of the most disappointing experiences of the year so far. Choose or Die gets a 1.5 out of 10. So let me know, did you see Choose or Die, or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Did you like the concept, and what's one of the best Netflix horror movies you've seen? Let me know in the comments below so we can discuss. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share it, and for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching everyone, and keep having fun with film.